have called this space of our time together the FreedHearts Deconstruction Zone. Our goals are to help you deconstruct false, damaging beliefs that are often deeply ingrained. We want to bring clarity in the midst of confusion, to bring freedom instead of fear, and to provide hope to your heart. That is what we do. Today, we share a note we received from a beautiful soul, a transgender woman who found hope in the midst of deep pain.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello again, and welcome to the Freed Hearts podcast. We are so glad you're here. My name is Robert Cottrell, and I'm here as always. Thank God, as always, with
Susan Cottrell.
Hi.
Hi.
Again, welcome. Connect with us at freedhearts.org. That is the one-stop place for everything we have, from all of our resources to the Beloved Adventures courses to information for parents, LGBTQ allies, and a way to connect with us for community as well. Please do share and subscribe to this podcast and rate it 5 stars if you would. That means a lot to us. Also want to make a note about counseling. You do a very limited select amount of personal counseling for individuals, couples. If you are interested in that, there is information on our website on the resources page, or you can just email us at hello@freedhearts.org and ask for details about counseling. You don't have too many openings out there, but if you're interested, please do reach out to us and we will see what we can do.
Yep.
Okay, so today, we get emails every day, every single day.
We do.
Beautiful. From parents, from those in the LGBTQ plus community, both adult and youth, from allies, from people in the church wanting to feel free instead of afraid. And, we answer every single one. And we've called this space, this time together, the FreedHearts Deconstruction Zone. And our goal here is to help you deconstruct false, damaging beliefs that are often deeply ingrained, to bring clarity to those who are confused, to bring freedom instead of fear, and to provide hope to your heart. That is FreedHearts. That is what we do.
Yes.
That's what we do. And last week, we talked about this goal, this increasing number of attacks to promote religious liberties, in particular those against our transgender children and adults in especially the more conservative states. And today we wanted to share with you a note that we received from a beautiful soul, a transgender woman who found hope in the midst of some real deep pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why don't you just go ahead and read the letter all the way through?
Okay.
And then we will go back and talk about some parts of it. Yeah?
Great.
That sound good?
That sounds great.
Sound good?
Yes.
Good. Yay.
Okay. Dear Susan and Rob, I love your podcast, and I want you to know that it has helped me in so many ways. I love your views on LGBTQ and the Bible. I want to say thank you. 3 years ago, last March, I laid on the bathroom floor in excruciating, dysphoric pain, screaming out to God to let me die. This was a fairly common occurrence over the prior 2 years, but this was far worse. It was also the first day of the COVID lockdown. This time, however, I did what Susan said in the podcast. Trust yourself when you pray to God and you get an answer. Well, that evening, lying there, writhing in pain, a sense of peace washed over me. I swear I heard, "Start hormones. It will heal you. If you continue on this path, your life will be destroyed and everything good in it will be gone." Wow. After 50 plus years, I have accepted that I am transgender, and now I'm a couple of years beyond transitioning, both medically and socially. I am no longer filled with debilitating depression, suicidal ideation, or self-loathing. My family has accepted and supports me. Beautiful people have entered my life. I feel blessed in some ways, that this has brought me closer to God. It has not all been perfect. There are some, quote, Christians in my life that are so hateful and hypocritical. I've lost dear friends in the church. I recently spoke with a Christian individual from Northern Alabama that claimed to be loving and accepting, but said things like, "You're confused. You made this choice to pretend to be a woman. Pray to God and He will heal you. You should come to our church because we are so loving and accepting."
Yeah, I mean, I'll just
Pause for laughter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The pastor of our church has said, "What you're doing is a sin. While you're welcome at our church, you are not allowed to be involved in the women's programs because you will make them uncomfortable." And also laid out other restrictions on my participation in the church. One of my dear friends, a deacon in the church, can't even look at me. When we first met after coming out, he asked, "Can I still call you by your dead name?" I replied, "I prefer that you call me Kelly or Kel." His response was, "Well, I will call you nothing." And he walked away with disdain. Having listened to your podcasts, I am prepared to deal with this ignorance, bigotry, and false teachings. While I struggle believing that there is a God, I do try. I do know that if she exists, see what I did there, Rob?
I do. I see. I saw what you did there.
She definitely spoke to me that night when I was at the end of my rope. I had tried suicide once and believe had this gone on any longer, I would not be here writing you today. As you say, you can tell by the fruit. I am a better person today. Jesus said, "Love God and love others as yourself." I despised who I was, but now I love who I am becoming and I want to live. I have become empathetic towards other marginalized communities and feel the need to help. If this was a sin, why am I improving in every way, mentally, physically, and emotionally? I often struggled to understand the purpose of my being transgender, and now, honestly, I feel that it is to help those who are bigoted and have false beliefs. I am here to help others open their hearts to the marginalized, like Jesus did. I'm going in for FFS surgery, that's facial feminization surgery, on Thursday. And during my recovery, I plan, as you suggested in one of the episodes that I listened to over the weekend, to share my story with the pastor. I would like resources to help me. You mentioned on several episodes about a research study that you will share upon request. Well, please consider this my request. Thank you so much for your dedication to the LGBTQ community. Warmest regards, Kelly.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Kelly, thank you so much for sharing that. And we changed the name on that too, but you know
Yes.
who you are.
Yes.
And by the way, she mentioned the research study. I want to mention that again. It's a study done by Auburn Seminary that really gives, it's for reaching out to evangelical Christians on what does and does not work in changing their hearts and minds on this particular issue. So if you would like that, please just email us at hello@freedhearts.org and ask for the Auburn study or just the research study, and we will get that back to you. That's a beautiful letter. What I want to do, if it's okay with you, is to go back and really look at some of this and just kind of talk it through. I think there are some things in there that as I was hearing you say, I was going, oh, yes, and wanted to comment on about, I didn't want to interrupt the letter, and I'm sure you had your own thoughts too. So why don't we go back and look at parts of this letter? The first thing that stands out to me is when she said early on about how difficult it was laying on the bathroom floor, excruciating pain, wanting to die. And that's common.
Yes, it's common.
It's a common thing.
Now, let me side note this, that in places where they welcome Two-Spirit or other names that there may be for gender nonconforming people or transgender people, that dysphoria is not the norm. It is the rejection that happens around it that causes the dysphoria. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think in some cultures, in some areas, that it's not, you don't struggle with knowing you are a gender different than what you look at in the mirror. It's just, it is.
Because
and it's accepted.
Yeah, because there's a place for that. You're like, oh,
Right.
that's who I am.
That's
because
the
you've
common.
already seen it.
Yeah, that's
there.
the common accepted thought and belief out there. Yes.
Yeah, and they
Yes.
don't have the writhing and pain from the dysphoria because the pain comes from the rejection.
Yeah.
And feeling so isolated and wrong.
Yeah.
So I just really want to point that out.
Yeah.
So when you struggle like that, I want you to know that you are not alone in that struggle.
Yeah.
It's against the feeling about it.
Yes.
That's visited on you.
Yeah. Because there's nothing, I mean, yes. In many cultures, you are, as you should be, celebrated.
Yeah.
And it's not unusual.
Yeah. The wrongness is not the way you are. The wrongness is the rejection of the way you are.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. And I love how she said too about when, trust yourself when you pray to God and you get an answer. And she talks about she I swear I heard, start hormones, etc. And I love that. And again, we've talked about this a lot, that we are falsely taught that we're not to trust our hearts, that they're, the wrong translation, that they're wicked and they can't be trusted, which doesn't mean that. It means that passage should say that your heart is deep. Who can know it? Like,
it's like, yes, it is.
Yes,
and
it
it's
is,
a lifelong journey to know your own heart.
So I love that.
Bring it on.
I love that she really turned and said, I just want an answer. Speak to me, Spirit. I'm listening.
Yes.
And then she listened. And when she heard something, she heard it. She received that.
Yes. Now, let me tell you that when you do that and you receive something, 12 times out of 10, because of our conditioning, we'll say, was that just me? I think that was just me. When we get a positive response like that from God, from Spirit, we just minimize it to be from us because we've been conditioned to do that. We've not been conditioned to know the voice of the shepherd, as Jesus put it. You'll know my voice.
Mm-hmm.
We do know Spirit's voice, but we've been conditioned to turn it all the way down. And so this is to turn it back up again.
And the voices that are in our lives out there that do come to mind sometimes at that time of, that are condemning and shaming and judging and that are ingrained in us. Susan, how can we know the difference between those voices and the voice of Spirit?
Yeah.
Is there
it's based on the response that you get. If you get a positive response that makes you feel good after you ask Spirit, and you get a positive response that affirms you, that is from Spirit. That didn't come from you because your conditioning goes counter to that, right? So it came from Spirit and Spirit in you. So the highest self of you, it came from.
And a positive, you don't always mean easy.
No.
You just mean
it's not easy to hear.
Affirming and loving, positive in that way, as opposed to condemning and finger pointing and finger wagging and shaming and judging, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So when you get a negative or a bad feeling response, babies know what feels good and what feels bad. When it feels bad, it feels condemning. You can bet it's your conditioning because God doesn't do that to us. God doesn't do that to us. So when you get a good answer that feels good, you have to embrace it, or else how will God communicate? How will Spirit, I keep saying God, sorry, I know that's triggering for some people. How will Spirit communicate if when Spirit tells you something positive that feels good, like start hormones, it will heal you? Then if we can't hear it, then how will Spirit speak to us? Yeah. And again, as you said, Rob, not always easy, because Spirit said, if you continue on this path, your life will be destroyed and everything good in it will be gone. Well, that's
not an easy thing to hear.
That's not an easy thing to hear.
But that's not judgmental or condemning or shaming.
No, it's not against that person. It's saying you're on
this path.
Let me help you on a path that will help you to have the life that you're meant to have.
And then after I love how she then talks about the hope and what's happened after 50 years. She's accepted that she's transgender, which is a big thing to do that. And now she said, I think that she's no longer filled with depression, suicidal thoughts, self-loathing, something like that, I think.
Yes.
And she talks about how supported she is. And this is beautiful what she shares.
And we bring up the after 50 plus years because a lot of people, this doesn't go away. This dysphoria, gender dysphoria, does not just go away if you ignore it. It stays there underneath, seeping away. And so, to be able to move into it is excellent. And to have family that accepts and supports is something else again. That is just wonderful.
Yeah. And I love this too, that I think she said that how this whole thing has brought her closer to Spirit, closer to God in this.
Yes.
Which again, that's not what she's going to hear. And she goes on to talk about how that there have been some, I think she put this in quote, Christians, right? Good use of quotes there, that in her life that were hateful and hypocritical and said some awful things. And these, I know you wanted to throw things at your phone or throw your phone as you heard some of these things as it was told. And it's horrible what she was told.
Let me just go back to the Christians in quote. Yeah. The reason that's belongs in quotes is it's nothing like what Jesus Christ, whom Christianity was named after, ever said. Exactly. Just bear that in mind. Yeah. Okay. So these transphobic words about you're confused, you made this choice to pretend, etc., and pray and God will heal you. Well, first of all,
let's again. You're confused. You made this choice. You're pretending. You pray and God will heal you. Oh, by the way, come to our church because we're so loving and accepting.
Oh my gosh.
I don't. Again, we shared a meeting recently that I just don't think if the people out there that believe that they're being honest there, I'm not buying the fact that they still believe this. I think they get it and they need to just come clean. I don't think they believe that they're truly being loving and accepting. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, if you just put the shoe on the other foot for a moment and say, how would I feel in this position? I would not feel loved and accepted. And if you don't know that, it's time to just dive in to your own research, church, to finding out how hurtful these responses are. Yeah. And I love the part about pray to God to heal you. Well, she did. She did, and God did heal her. God said, take hormones. It'll transform you.
Heal her from the suicidal thoughts and self-loathing. And that's excellent.
Because those were the problem. Yeah. The gender is not a problem. It's the dysphoria around it.
Yeah. So, and the pastor weighed in again. And
what you're doing is sin. And you're welcome, but not allowed to be involved in, not as a woman, you're not. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm not welcome. So bye-bye.
Yeah. And the deacon and the dead naming and all that stuff. And good for you, Kelly, that you said no. You can call me Kelly or Cal, but and they said, well, okay, I'll call you nothing. Well, that
reveals your view of me.
That's right, and my value to you.
Right.
So better we know now.
And I want to point out where she said, having listened to your podcast, I'm prepared to deal with this ignorance, bigotry, and false teachings. That's why we do this. That's why we do this, to equip you, to empower you to know who you are, to embrace who you are for yourself, and to not put up with anything else from others, that you will not stay in relationships that are abusive when it's, wherever possible. Mm-hmm. And so
it's not what you deserve.
It's not what you deserve. It does not serve you well to be at the effect of people's judgment against you. What do these people know? Yeah. They're just repeating what they've been told. They haven't wrestled with this. Right. They haven't gone to the mat on this with God and with Spirit and said, what do you want me to see in this?
Yeah. And they're so willing.
Otherwise, they would have come up with something different.
Yeah. Being so willing to intervene in your life while likely so unwilling to intervene in their own issues. It's just, yes. And then she makes an amazing point. That's excellent, Susan. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
She makes an excellent point, and I love this. And we've talked about this in different ways, but it's very concise and simple here, and I love it. She talks about how if this was wrong, if this were a sin, why would I be improving? And you've talked about this at all, that we do look at the fruit. Look at the fruit.
Right.
And she says that she's a better person.
Yes.
Not just in how she feels about herself, but
Yeah.
how she feels about other people.
Yeah, other marginalized communities that she's more empathetic for. That's right. So if you go from suicide ideation, self-loathing, hatred of yourself into acceptance of not only yourself, but others who are on the outskirts, I'd say that's an improvement.
Yeah. And again,
I'd say that's the fruit
of the
Spirit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is what again? The fruit of the Spirit? Patience, kindness,
love, joy, peace.
all those kind of things. Not increased, more effective judgment and condemnation. That's not
right.
That's so right. Yes, examine the fruit, church.
Right.
Look and see.
Yeah. And the fruit that the church, the non-affirming church, is building, is creating, is self-hatred, exclusion, all the thing, bigotry, all the things that we don't want here. And
we talked last week about a growing number of voices, and that fruit, that bad, quote, bad fruit, it's showing up in an entire generation upon us now who really wants nothing to do with this hypocrisy and this lack of love and acceptance, and these voices are growing. So that fruit on both sides of this is being examined, and that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, to be authentic about what it's really creating.
And it gave her, and this whole thing now, she has purpose. She has a purpose. She was questioning whether or not she should even exist.
Right.
She didn't want to live. And now it's gone to, yes, I want to live, to I have a purpose in life. I have a purpose in life here.
Yes. Where she goes on to say about she's having surgery and she plans to, as I suggested, share her story with the pastor and ask for the resources, that research study. But let me just tell you that I do encourage people to let the pastor know why they're not going anymore. I'm not sure the context in which I had said what she's hearing. There are many times to share where it is a positive and helpful thing. But let me always caveat that by saying only when you're not putting yourself at risk.
Yeah.
Do not take on someone else's growth and journey like you're obligated. You're not obligated to do anybody's work for them, for sure.
Right. You're not right.
And not even to provide the resources for them, that if they're unwilling to listen, all those things, you are not obligated to any of that. So it's if there's an opportunity that feels good to you to share your story, it's like,
it's just to share your story. It's to share the truth and sashay away. And we often include in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Speak your truth, share a resource if you want, and that could be freedhearts.org.
Yeah.
And sashay away and walk away. We do not mean share your truth in order to change somebody's mind on this.
Which is not up to you.
Or to get into the debate. If they open the door and said, I'd love to talk with you more, I want to hear more.
Yeah.
That's an open door. If it's this coming back like the pastor revealed here in what he said to her, that's not what we're talking about. It's to share your story for your own, just for your truth,
And also don't forget the disparity in power. When you speak to someone in power, you're at a disadvantage already.
Yeah.
And so, don't ever feel obligated and take someone with you if you feel like you want to go talk to somebody.
I'm just going to say you might take someone with you. It could be a written letter.
It can be a written letter you send and then block.
So,
or if, there's an answer, you can have someone else read the answer before you do, so you don't have to. All kinds of ways to protect yourself. Yeah. All right.
Well, Kelly, thank you again so much. But Susan, I need to correct you.
Wait, there's one.
There's something else you want? Sure.
Yes.
Sure. What's something else you want? So, and we'll leave it at that mystery point, because I said, I need to correct you.
Yeah,
I got something I need to call you out on.
Okay. We'll be right back to that. I'm happy to hear
Heck, yes, we will. No.
But I love that where she said, let's see, where is it? I know that if she exists, God, see what I did there, Rob? I love that. And do we think God is a woman with a female body? No. Do we think God is a man with a male body? No. God is not bodied. God is spirit. So any reference to, male, that we're offended by female references to God, but don't even notice male references.
Right.
That shows our view of God that is skewed, that's been bammed into us for centuries.
That's why we often
God is not a man.
Right. That's why we use she, though, is to point out, is to let the hairs bristle on the necks of those who it's bristling for, to point out, well, why is that? Why does that make you uncomfortable? It's not that God is a woman. It's God is everything. Spirit is everything that is female, everything that is male, everything that is both, everything that is neither. Right.
And they'll come back to you with Bible verses, and you'll go to, God created the male and female right there. There's a ripe little passage where the pronouns are male and female. They vary back and forth. So just there.
Yeah.
Do not be swayed by that.
Keep in mind, too, that not all of, but the references to God as He is in Scripture written by men,
right?
Edited and translated by men. And just by the way, don't ever forget the passage in Jeremiah, which tells us that
Jeremiah 8:8 that says that scribes' hands have changed Scripture. I don't have the exact quote, but you're not getting direct words. It's been changed by the hands of scribes. Well,
right. Well, there you go.
That's important to know.
Yeah. So
okay,
that was nice to share. So back to what I was saying.
Honey,
I need to call you out. You left something out of the email. Tell me.
Yeah.
She said something else. Did she not? What did she say?
She said, "Rob, I would love more jokes."
Okay. Wait for the applause. I know there's applause. I can feel it in my gut. There's applause.
We've heard it more than once. We really have.
We have. So I've got a joke for you.
Didn't see that coming.
Oh, no, okay. Now's the time. So there's this priest. You love how that starts?
Gosh.
I know. Well,
are you kidding me?
No, we're talking about something religious today, kind of.
Absolutely.
So the priest was driving along this road when a police officer pulls him over and says, "Have you been drinking?" And the priest answers, "Oh, no, just water." Officer says, "Well, so why do I smell wine?" Priest looks over to the bottle and goes, "Good Lord, he's done it again." I was going to share another joke about time travel, but you didn't get it. All right.
Oh, my gosh. That's funny.
You've heard of dad jokes? Those are Rob jokes. All right. Again, beloved, you're not alone out there. If you're going through this kind of thing, if you know someone who is, it's a family member, a friend, or loved one, if it's you that's going through this, you're not alone. Connect with us. Again, everything's at freedhearts.org, resources, community. It's a place of absolute love and affirmation, as we said, to help deconstruct lies and false beliefs so you can have clarity and freedom and hope. That's what we do. That's why we do it. And we love you. You are beloved.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday, so I call you up and you call me down? Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the Freed Hearts Podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant community for you at www.freedhearts.org. Just come say hello. And if you have questions or issues or comments about the podcast, things you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at podcast@freedhearts.org. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner, and you can find out more about her at heysaintsinner.com. Please share this, subscribe, and follow on your favorite platform, and thanks for listening.